Let's get right into the incredible story of a man whose life is one of the most powerful journeys you'll ever hear about. We're talking about Bilal ibn Rabah. His story is about unimaginable faith, unbelievable suffering, and a legacy that, even today, is a source of intense debate.
I want you to just picture this for a second. A man is literally pinned to the scorching hot desert sand with a giant boulder crushing his chest. He's being tortured for a belief he just won't give up. You'd think this was the end of his story, right? But what's so amazing is that this very moment, it's just the beginning. It's the prelude to him becoming one of the most famous voices in history.
So, who was Bilal? Well, he was an Abyssinian slave in Mecca. His owner was a powerful and cruel chieftain named Umayyah ibn Khalaf. Now, Mecca at the time was all about social status and worshiping many gods. And into this world comes a new message of one God, of human dignity. Bilal heard it, and he secretly converted to Islam. But as you can imagine, secrets like that didn't stay secret for long in a place like Mecca. When his owner, Umayyah, found out, his rage was just off the charts. And the torture wasn't random. It was systematic. Every single day, at the hottest part of the afternoon, they'd drag him out onto that burning sand, place that massive rock on his chest, and demand he renounce his faith. But Bilal, he would not break.
And this is where the story becomes legendary. Through all that agony, with a rock crushing the breath out of him, when they screamed at him to recant, he had only one answer. Ahad, Ahad, one. Think about that. Just a single word, repeated over and over. It was this breathtakingly defiant declaration of monotheism. He was turning his own torture into a testament of his faith.
Now, this horrible spectacle was happening out in the open. People saw it every day. And one of those people was a close companion of the Prophet Muhammad named Abu Bakr. Seeing Bilal's incredible resilience and his unbearable pain, Abu Bakr decided he just couldn't stand by and watch it happen anymore. He had to do something. So Abu Bakr goes to Umayyah and offers to buy Bilal from him. They strike a deal. For 240 dirhams, Bilal was purchased. And the moment the money changed hands, Abu Bakr set him free. And just like that, the torture was over. Bilal was no longer a slave. But look, this was so much more than just one man's freedom. This was a massive statement. It was a symbol of the new social order that Islam was promising. Here you have a former slave, a black man from Abyssinia, who was about to be given a position of incredible public honor, a role that had nothing to do with his family name, but everything to do with the beauty of his voice and the power of his faith. He was appointed as the very first muezzin in Islam, the person who calls the entire community to prayer. That same voice that had whispered one in defiance of a torturer now boomed across the city 5 times a day. It became a sound of unity, of worship, of a new beginning. His spiritual rank was just undeniable. It's said that the Prophet Muhammad himself told Bilal about a vision he had, saying he heard Bilal's footsteps walking ahead of him in paradise. I mean, can you imagine a more profound validation? In the spiritual world, the former slave was already leading the way. Okay, so Bilal's story is this beautiful, inspiring cornerstone of what's often called Islam's golden age. But here's where things get a lot more complex. Because how we remember this foundational time and the people in it, well, that's not straightforward at all. In fact, it's a source of some really deep, long-standing disagreements. And it all really boils down to this one huge question. How are we supposed to view the Sahaba, the companions of the Prophet? Are they all untouchable heroes, or should their lives and actions be looked at with a more critical, historical eye? So basically, there are 2 major schools of thought here. On one side, you have the view that all the companions, just by virtue of being there, are heroes, that their era was a perfect model we should all follow. But then, there's another perspective that says, hold on a second. This view argues that just having the title of companion isn't enough. People should be judged by their actions, and it points to later, bloody conflicts where companions were literally on opposite sides of the battlefield. And this call for a closer look isn't just some abstract idea. It brings up some really tough historical questions. Questions like, who was responsible for the deaths of certain key figures? How were disputes over the Prophet's own inheritance handled? These aren't easy questions, and they challenge that idea of a perfectly harmonious time. And these debates go even deeper, down to something you'd think would be a simple, known fact. For instance, the widely accepted history says the Prophet had 4 daughters. But there are some historical sources that argue, and argue very strongly, that he actually had only one daughter, Fatima. Now, the reasoning behind this counterargument is really fascinating. It's built on a few key pillars. First, there's the timeline. Proponents say the 15 years between the prophet's marriage and his prophethood is just too short for 3 other daughters to be born, grow up, and get married. Second, they point to a famous event called the Mubahala, a kind of prayer duel, where only Fatima was brought along. And finally, they bring up matters of inheritance and lineage, where again, she seems to be singled out. It's a really powerful example of how history can be pieced together and argued from different angles.
But let's circle back to Bilal, because his personal story isn't over. It has one last, incredibly moving chapter. After the Prophet Muhammad passed away, Bilal was just consumed by grief. He found that he couldn't even stand to be in Medina anymore, a city that held so many powerful memories.
So he left and he moved to Syria. Years went by. Then one night, he has this powerful dream where the prophet asks him to come visit. He wakes up and immediately starts the long journey back to Medina. And it's there, as he's weeping at the prophet's grave, that the prophet's own grandsons find him. And they ask him for something amazing. Would he call the prayer, the azan, just one last time? He felt he couldn't do it, but he also couldn't refuse them. So he climbs up to the place where he used to stand, and as the first words of the prayer, Allahu Akbar, rang out, a sound that hadn't been heard from him in years, the entire city just broke down. People came pouring out of their homes, weeping openly in the streets. But when he got to the line that testifies to the prophethood of Muhammad, his voice, just thick with emotion and grief, completely faltered. He couldn't go on. For everyone listening, it was as if time had rewound, as if the prophet was with them again, and the raw pain of his loss was felt as if it had just happened. Bilal was so overcome he couldn't even finish. And that moment right there perfectly captures Bilal's incredible legacy. On one hand, his story is about one person's unbreakable faith in the face of absolute horror. But he's also a central figure in a foundational period of history that, as we've seen, isn't a single simple story. It's one that is remembered and debated with incredible passion. So Bilal's voice called people to prayer, yes, but in a way, it also calls on us to look a little deeper. It makes us ask ourselves, how do we balance these stories of pure, awe-inspiring faith with the messy, complicated, and often fiercely contested reality of history? What do we choose to hear?